Welcome to AWM Now, your source for everything that's happening here at Andrew Wommack Ministries and Charis Bible College. On Saturday, June 5th, the ministry celebrated the Phone Center's 30th anniversary, where both current and past employees gathered to honor this special milestone. Stories were shared of how each phone center manager rose to the challenge at hand to continually reach the ever-growing demand of callers needing free prayer and ministry. Though our communication services department is now a well-oiled machine, its beginnings were much more humble and started with a single phone call made by Andrew's friend Don Crow as he reached out to a ministry partner whose family needed prayer.
This woman, out of desperation, sat down at her kitchen table and started writing me a letter trying to explain it. And she had just put her pen down and said, God, I can't do this in a letter. I need to talk to someone. And she says, please help. And the phone rang, and it was Don Crow saying, I'm calling for Andrew Wommack. Is there anything we can pray with you about? That's how we started seeing how you could minister to people over the phones.
After seeing the quality of ministry that could be done over the phone, Andrew knew he wanted to start a phone center so that people could call in for their spiritual needs. To do this, he enlisted the help of one of his employees, who, in addition to leading a team into the unknown, chose a number that many of us have grown to know by heart.
I went to work for Andrew in '83, and in 1991, he said, you think more like I do than anybody else, and I've got a proposition for you. I want to start a phone center. We started out with 5 phones in Manitou Springs. We had 15 volunteers, about 15. I said, Andrew, they got 5 phone numbers they gave us, and which one do you want? And he said, just pick one that'll be easy to remember. So every time I see that on TV or something, I said, I had something to do with that.
After Philip moved on to pastor a church, Andrew asked his friend Cecil Paxton, who already had his own ministry, to come and run his phone center. And for the next 10 years, Cecil brought in a ministerial heart for the callers.
When I first came, we had maybe 5 or so different individual booths for people to be able to sit down and take phone calls. And then we expanded over time and went into another area of the building and a larger room, more booths. You know, you can sit in one spot. People from around the world and around the United States can call. You connect with a person just like that. So it's powerful.
Continuing the legacy of phone center managers was Paul Stewart, who ushered in a change from having student volunteers taking call to paid staff. With Andrew's Gospel Truth television show about to air on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, we would need full-time employees to handle the volume of new calls coming in.
We grew so much on presence on television. We just had to upgrade so many things and continue just to constantly innovate how we're going to handle all this call volume. For a ministry to be effective, you got to effectively be able to minister to people. And that's what the purpose of the phone center really is. There's a powerful connection when 2 people that are believing God, one on this side of the phone and one on this side of the phone, and they connect on the Word of God. Only God can just do those things.
Following in Paul Stewart's footsteps was Andrew Wartz, who is now the Vice President of Andrew Wommack Ministries. While leading our phone center, Andrew knew firsthand the power of free ministry. While in college, Andrew's life was radically changed when he found a free cassette tape titled The True Nature of God in his college dorm room.
I had no idea who he was, and there weren't websites to go and search, but there was a phone number on the back of that cassette tape. So the next day I called, and just the most wonderful person ever answered the phone, was so warm and incredible, and I was just asking for information about the ministry. She told me, you know, I can send you 3 more of those every week for free. What? The call center became my absolute lifeline.
Next to take up the mantle of phone center managers was Tracy Sanchez. Just 2 weeks after taking on the job, Tracy learned that Andrew Wommack would be needing her to move his phone center 30 miles from the Colorado Springs location to relocate to our new Woodland Park property.
It was overwhelming, for sure. I was not expecting that when we moved, and so we had to make a plan, move up half the phone center at a time to make sure that there was no interruption. So we ended up moving up here over a weekend. Took calls up here on Monday morning, 4 a.m. From 2 different locations. So it was a pretty intense time, but it was a lot of fun.
After successfully relocating an entire branch of the ministry, Tracy became our executive director for global marketing and passed the baton to David McClure. who, like those who came before him, was met with unprecedented challenges. When the COVID lockdowns hit last year, David mobilized over 100 workers to answer calls from home. Without skipping a beat, our call center continued to not only reach out to people in their darkest time, but was also able to break all phone records in the process.
And last year alone, we answered over 550,000. This year, we're projecting out about 620,000 people being touched. So all the people who came before me, man, I'm standing on very broad shoulders. And I recently just gave up my phone manager position to my supervisor, Andrew Jacobs. The phone center is being left in really good hands for the next 30.
I'm seeing where they started out from with 4 cubicles, and now we have like 90 to 100 that we're operating with, and strictly volunteers. I have the benefit if we have paid staff that come in. It's just humbling to see where we were to where we are and where we're going to be going in the future, and it's just going to continue to grow more and more, and it's only what God can do.
With a new directive for 24/7 ministry, our new phone center manager has his hands full, continuing the legacy handed down to him. And what a legacy it has become. Through 3 decades, multiple moves, television expansion, market crashes, and global pandemics, Andrew's phone center has not only remained steadfast, but has experienced supernatural growth beyond everyone's imaginations. Well, maybe not everyone's.
He told me that it's got a potential being the biggest part of the ministry. And I believed him, but I never dreamed it would grow like it has. And it just blesses me so much.
I think we're in the neighborhood of 300,000 calls maybe a year when I was managing. This is double that now in just the space of a few years.
We've answered about 5.7 million calls in 30 years. But here's the thing about it, it just keeps growing. I can tell you the first 30 were really, really good, but the next 30 years look even brighter.
Thank you, friends and partners, for being a part of Andrew's legacy of reaching out with the gospel of God's unconditional love and grace through our phone center. If you would like to be a part of our next 30 years, you can do so from the comfort of your own home. To meet the increased needs of worldwide ministry, our Communication Services Department is now hiring work-from-home positions. If this interests you, then click on the link below.